Okay, let's begin. Welcome to the WA2 revision for English. We're going to do narrative comprehension for today. Before we start on the revision paper itself, let me just do a quick introduction and then we will go through the paper itself. Okay. Anytime throughout the session, if you cannot hear or I am speaking a bit too softly, just let me know in the chat. Right. Okay, let me start with an introduction. Welcome to OVERMUGGED. This is our revision session. Maybe some of you have joined us for our WA1 revision as well. This is for WA2. A bit about myself first. So this is who I am, and this is what I have taught previously. So far only I've covered English from pre-primary all the way up to secondary. At OVERMUGGED, you may know that we cover primary, secondary, and JC, but I am just primarily teaching the secondary English only. So more about my beliefs as a teacher. I believe and my commitment is that I would like to help you better your relationship with the content. So some of you may have some beliefs about yourself with English, or maybe English is so challenging, it's too difficult to score well. That's where I am. I'm here to help you overcome those beliefs and then show you how you can understand the questions much better. Okay, and then a bit of a fun fact about myself. At one point of my life, I had 8 pets before. You can try to guess what the 8 pets are. I don't think so far any student have guessed it all at one go before. Okay, so that's about myself. Now a bit more about OVERMUGGED. Maybe you're joining here so that you can get a glimpse into what our sessions are like. So for OVERMUGGED, over the past 2 years, we have expanded quite a bit. So anywhere in Singapore, you probably can find us. So in the West, we have a branch at Jurong East, and then up we have a branch in Woodlands, and then all the way to the east, we have Tampines. In the center, we have Bukit Timah and Marine Parade. So we're here. If you need us, we're all around Singapore. Okay, next part. So what do we hope to do? We want to help you achieve your goal. So be it whether you want to get a better grade or you want to understand concepts or your questions much better so you can answer better during exams, we are here to help you work hand in hand with you so that you can reach the aims you set for yourself. So just to share a bit about our achievements, 70% of our students, they achieve their distinctions at the national exams. And then they go on to join universities, top universities, especially our local U's. Now, if you're interested into what we offer and you're interested in our lessons as well, these are some resources that we will offer. So first thing we have is curated notes. Curated notes are condensed notes. So all of your topics are all condensed into one big thick note, and then it's given to you. So it's easier for you to go through all of the revision. And then we also have our revision sessions like this. Or during the normal lessons itself, we may give you revision papers as well. If you join the science lessons, we also have hands-on experiments. So you not only are exposed to the theoretical side, you also get to do the experiments in the classrooms instead. So you're much more better prepared as well. Okay. And then each teacher will go through after-class consultation if you need extra help as well. So if you are interested about the lessons here or the timings, I will flash this. So this is all the timings and the group tuition. This is for Sec 3, and then afterwards it is for Sec 4. You can also find all this information on our website as well. So that's at OVERMUGGED. Okay, so I'll just go through this next few pages. If you would like to look at the timings, you can take a quick screenshot of this. So this is for Sec 3, or you may scan the QR code as well. Okay, and we'll move on to this page. Still for Sec 3 classes as well. Okay, so do take note, you can view all of this information as well on our website if you miss this part. Okay, So that's about all. Now let's go to the materials for today. Do make sure that the materials you have is for narrative comprehension. Okay, so just let me know if you do not have the materials. I'll flash the page with the QR code for you to scan and receive the materials. If not, I'm going to go on to the materials for today. Okay, all good so far. So we're going to go through our narrative comprehension, considered the more challenging comprehension because it's much longer, much more questions as well. So firstly, let's take a look at the steps you have to take for comprehension generally. So these are the few steps. You can take a picture of this, or if you can write down quite quickly, these are the first few steps you should take. So firstly, you're going to be looking at the passage. So be it whether it's your text 3 or text 4. So text 4 is your non-narrative, text 3 is your narrative comprehension. As you're reading the passage, you should be annotating as you go along. This is to help you when you're looking back as you answer the questions as well. And then second part is you should be able to identify the question type. This is very important because you have to know how you can answer each specific question type. And then you should be identifying the focal points. So focal points are the context that you have to refer back to for each individual question. Next is to answer. Make sure you're sourcing from the correct paragraph and reuse keywords when needed as well. And then lastly, always remember to check for grammar, spelling, and your word choices, because grammatical errors, if it's there, then it makes it quite difficult for the invigilator to mark your work as well. Okay, so if you'd like to take a quick picture of this page, you may do so. And then I'll move on to the next part. Okay. Okay, all good. I'll move on. Now let's do a quick recall. Let's check how much you understand of the various comprehension question types. So this is just to check your understanding here. So can you take out your mobile phones and can you quickly scan this QR code? This is just a short quiz. And then once you have assessed this quiz, can you just react and let me know if you're able to assess the quiz? Okay, I think I've seen some of you, yes. It's a very short quiz, only 5 questions, just to check how much you can remember, how much you know how to identify your comprehension question type. So there are 30 of us here. I'll wait a while more for all of you to join. Is that everyone? Everyone who's joining? Okay, a few more. Can I give you 1 more minute to join? Okay, I'm just, oh, a few of you are joining. Okay, I will just go ahead first and start. All right, so get ready. I'm going to start the quiz now. So sorry. Okay, first one requires identifying or stating specific details. So this particular question type, you have to identify and state specific details from the text itself. Okay, most of you are able to get it. This is your direct question. So when you're quoting certain details, when they want you to quote things, that is your direct questions. Question 2. So you're focusing on linguistic analysis, such as word phrases, definitions, what the author means, the tone, etc. Okay, very good. This is language only, not language and inference. Later on, I will go and explain why this is not plus inference. Question 3, you're unpacking idea or a definition and then applying that unpacked idea to the context. Okay, quite a lot of you chose inference only. This is actually language plus inference, because when you're unpacking something, you're explaining the language component, and then applying it to the context is your inference component. So there is two parts to it. That's why it's a language plus inference. Okay, second last question. This requires you to answer in your own words. Okay, this is actually a direct question. So answering your own words is just paraphrasing. That's considered just as a direct question. Okay, last question. Identifying tone or attitude of the author or character. Okay, this is just an inference question because you're trying to infer what kind of tone or attitude you can understand from how the character is saying a certain thing. Okay, and then that's the end of the quiz. I hope through the quiz you get a better idea of what you can understand more of. So now I'm going to go through the main question types. So again, you can take a quick picture of this page. These are all your main question types. So you have your direct question, you have your inference question, your language, your direct plus inference as well. Language plus inference, so your combination questions, and then your punctuation questions. So asking you what a particular function is for a particular punctuation. So you will see that for direct questions and from the quiz just now, it's just stating, quoting from the text itself. You can find all your answers there. Answer in your own words questions are also considered direct questions because firstly, you are finding the answer from a text and then just changing it into your own words. So it is a direct question. Next part is the inference question. They're always asking you about the why. So if they're asking you about tone, attitude, about a character, that is your inference question. And if it's an effectiveness question, there's also inference. Next is your language question, which I mentioned there are two parts to this. So you are firstly unpacking the definitions and then trying to understand what's the connotations about it. Connotations means the idea of a certain thing. So I probably like to ask you a lot about your literary devices or asking you to explain a certain phrase. Direct plus inference is your irony question, so asking you what is odd or peculiar about something. And then language plus inference, this is when you unpack a definition or a connotation about a certain phrase, so that's a tested phrase, and then you apply that idea to something else. And then lastly, it's a punctuation. Okay, so take a quick picture of this for your own reference in the future. Okay, it is all good. I'm going to move on to the next part, which I'm going to get you to read the passage. So read the passage and look through the questions as well. I'm going to give you 7 minutes to do this. As you read the passage, think about the 5W1H because narrative question types. This is based on a story plot. So there are characters involved as well. You have to know who are involved and what's happening in the story plot. Okay, so 7 minutes to do this, and then I'm going to go through briefly about the narrative text. Okay, those who do not have the worksheet, I will flash the QR code again for you. So just scan this QR code and it'll take you to the worksheet itself. About 3 more minutes left. One more minute. Okay, time's up. Let's look at the passage. Okay, first thing. So just now I did mention a bit about narrative text. So it's about a story or an account of events and experiences. So what's important is that you have to understand what is happening. That means the story plot. And then you have to know who is or are involved, which are the characters. So that's why I asked you, as you're reading through the passage, think of your 5W1H, helps you understand who's involved much better. Annotation means picking up details, so maybe it's about the character's feelings, maybe it's about the actions in each specific paragraph. That's annotating. So based on this passage alone, this passage is about a journey. So particularly Jamie's journey to a diamond mine. So since you know this passage is about a particular journey, what then can you say? So since the text is about a journey, how does the writer describe it? So in the passage, as you're reading, you realize that they talk a lot about how the journey was. So this is something, a detail that you can pick out or understand from what they're trying to describe in the passage itself. So if I ask, how is it being described? I can say from paragraphs 1, 3, and 5, it tells me that the journey is quite uncomfortable, claustrophobic, and physically jarring because Jamie goes through all of this series of uncomfortableness because it's squeezed inside that particular cart with other people, and the journey is not very particularly comfortable because it goes up and down all the way through the destination. So this can be found in paragraphs 1, 3, and 5. Okay, this part is where introduces him being squeezed in with other people. Paragraph 3 is talking about how the cart is moving as it's going along its journey. And then paragraph 5 as well, similar to paragraph 3, is talking about how uncomfortable it is. So this can be summarized and tells you how the journey is. Also tells you a bit about Jamie's feelings in each of the parts as well. Okay, all good. Can I move on? If you need me to go back to any of the slides, just let me know as well. So from here, I talk about Jamie's feelings. You can also pick out details from the passage about his particular feelings in certain paragraphs. So examples are, from paragraph 1, it tells you that even though he feels this way, he's uncomfortable with all the people on the card itself, but he tells himself that it's not too bad. So there is a sense of hope from him. He thinks that it'll be okay as the journey goes on. And then in paragraph 3, it also gives you a sense of determination because he is gritting his teeth and he thinks that he can stand it, this uncomfortable journey through the night, until the night, because he knows that the car will probably stop and that's when he can get his rest. So there's a sense of hopefulness, there's a sense of determination in the first half of the passage. That's what you can pick up. Okay, make sure you're annotating this on the passage itself. And then I'm going to move on to the next half of it. So going on to the second half of the passage, you can realize that his feelings of hopefulness, determination starts to change when it comes to paragraph 5. This is when he realizes that they're not going to stop and take a rest at all. They're just going to continue this very bad journey. And that's when you can tell that he's in misery and he's at despair because he is in a position for such a long time and his body starts to cramp up as well. However, towards the end of the passage, there is a sense of hopefulness again because he tells himself that he's going to make it, and they tell you at the end, yes, he did make it. He did survive through this awful journey in the end. So this is examples of how you are annotating as you read through the story. Pick out some details that tells you about what it's talking about, particularly because it's talking about a journey. You can find how the writer describes that particular journey, or it can tell you about what Jamie's feelings are throughout each of the paragraph as well. Okay? Any questions so far? If there's no further questions, then I'm going to move on to the analysis of the questions itself. So can you go to the questions? We're going to look at question 1. You realize that for this revision worksheet, I have categorized the questions according to its particular category. But as you know, during your exams, they're not going to help you categorize it. So you do have to know how to identify the question types. Okay, let's look at question 1. So question 1, this is a quote and explain question. Why? Because they are asking you to pick out how the language in paragraph 5 is describing Jamie's suffering. So first thing you need to do is to look at the details. Right here, this is a particular keyword, impact of the ride on Jamie's body. This is where you can source for what information you are to look for in the text itself. So any description talking about the impact of Jamie's on Jamie's body, that's the parts that you should be looking at. Okay, and then next part, what do you have to explain in your answers? So for your answers, you're going to be explaining how their description shows that he is suffering. So that means suffering is undergoing pain or distress. You know this is a negative feeling. Okay, next part. Take note, this is a 3-mark question. So that means that you should be quoting 3 quotations from the passage. So an answer structure that you can take for this type of quote and explain, sometimes they may ask you to quote 2 quotations, sometimes it may be 3 quotations up to how the worksheet is created. But an example of the answer structure for this, it can be like this. So you'll start off with stating whether it's the first quotation, whether it's your second quotation or your third quotation, and then you will give me the actual quotation from the passage. Afterwards, you're going to use these few words. So you can use implies, you can use indicates, highlights, showcase, or illustrate. Try not to use the word show, because show is a very common word that students like to use in this type of questions, and then they will repeat it over and over again. So try to vary your question, sorry, not question, vary the word that you're using. Okay, so just remember 3 out of these few words to use to interchange here and there. Okay, so quote and explain, you're going to go back to the passage and search for the information that is talking about the impact of the rat on his body, and particularly how it shows that he is suffering. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. Okay, next question is going to be a language plus inference question. So here, they're asking you, based on the words in bold in paragraph 6, what is effective about the following 3 phrases here? Now, for effectiveness questions, 3 words I would like you to use is emphasize, demonstrate, and highlight. So again, avoid using the word show. Use either 3 of these. Most of the times, I just tell students when it's an effectiveness question, just use emphasize. So E and E, that helps you remember even better. Now, when they've given you words, you have to try and decipher the meanings of it. So you're supposed to look at the bolded words in this case. What you can try to do first is to think of the base forms of the following words. So an example would be, from infinity, it becomes infinite. And then pitiless, you know it's about pity plus the word less. And then smothered, look at the base word is smother. So this helps you to look at the base word, and it's easier for you to decipher what the meaning of it are. Okay, so annotate this down. It will help you to decipher the meaning of it. So just take note, this part is just the language part. So this is a combination question. When there's a language component, that means they want you to decipher the meanings of a certain phrase, of a certain word. So this is the language component. So where does the inference component come in? It comes in this next part. I'm going to go on to the next. So your inference component comes in when you are drawing a link between the usage of the language to the context. So your context is that you have to go back to paragraph 6 and then look at where it is found in the full sentence, and then try to decipher what is its meaning in that particular context. Okay, so do take note. Inference component comes in when you are drawing a link between the usage of the language to the context. So oftentimes students miss out this inference component for language plus inference question, and you're not able to get the full mark for that. So this is very important. Okay, so basically what do you have to do? Go back to paragraph 6, read the given quotation. So this quotation in the context, so in the passage itself. So what are the words describing, or why is it effective? That's what you'll be answering for this question. Okay, so an answer structure that you can take for this type of questions, again, because it's an effectiveness question, and remember I told you to use the word emphasize, you can simply just structure it this way. It emphasizes or highlights or demonstrates what and what. Okay, so take this down. On your worksheet, there should be a box for you to write down all these notes. If everything is all good, I'm going to move on to the next question, if there's no question so far. Okay, next part is your language question. So this question, they're asking you to explain the irony in paragraph 1. You have to understand what irony is. So when you're talking about irony, you're talking about when something happens that is the opposite of what you expect. So there's an expectation and there's an actuality. So what actually happened there? So for irony questions, this is for language questions, you have to source for what that detail is that conveys this sense of irony. So if you are unsure of the definition of irony, please take this part down. This is what irony is. Or in shorter form, you can say this is expectation versus actuality. So if you find a detail in paragraph 1 that shows you this contrast, then that's a detail for irony. Okay, so you're going to be sourcing for a detail in paragraph 1 that conveys this particular sense of irony. How you can structure your answer for irony questions is, firstly, tell me what was expected. What's the expectation? Because there's a contrast here. And then second part is to state what actually happened. So this is 2 parts that you have to explain for irony questions. Okay, I'll give you some time to write this down. Okay, all good. Then I'm going to move on to the next part. So second question for language question, which is your question 4. Here we have question 4. So from paragraph 3, what does the phrase like the blow of a horse hoof to one's chest suggest about each bounce? So when you have tested, I think someone is speaking, but I couldn't hear you. Did you need me to show the previous slide? No? Okay. If you have any questions, you can type it out in the chat because I can't really hear very well. Okay, so as what I was saying just now, when you have a quotation here, or what I like to call, this is your tested phrase, you have to decipher the meaning of that quoted phrase. Try to understand what it is trying to say or what it means. So in this case, they are referring to a horse hoof. You have to try and think what exactly is a horse hoof. So I'm going to show you a visualization of what a horse hoof is. So this is a horse hoof. The hoof is the bottom part of the feet of a horse. And this is a very hard part of it. So imagine this very thick, hard part is in impact with your chest. How would then the impact be like? So they're trying to say that this particular impact of the horse's hoof to your chest is what it felt like on the cart during the journey for each bounce. Okay, so that's how you're deciphering the quoted phrase. Now, do take note because you are describing the bounce, how the bounce feels like. That means that you should also be using an adjective to describe it. How was the bounce like? Use an adjective to be describing something. Adjectives are used to help you to describe another thing. Okay. Do I need to show the previous slides? No? All good? Okay. Then I'll move on. So this is your language questions. Next up is your inference question, which is question 5. Okay, this is question 5. Question 5 is asking you from paragraph 4, why did Jamie stare at the driver? Inference questions means that you don't have the answers directly in the passage. You have to try and look at contextual clues. What you need to firstly do, go back to paragraph 4 and read before or after the given information to find your contextual clues, and so that you can have a visualization of the whole event. Because if you only look at that one action, you're not able to understand what's happening at all. So I would like you to go back to the passage, go back to paragraph 4. So look at paragraph 3, 4, and 5. Okay, once you're at the passage, this is what you should be looking at. So here is paragraph 3, 4, and 5. This is where your question took this particular quotation from. Jamie staring at the driver. So you have to look at the paragraph before, what happened beforehand. Beforehand, they were still on their journey. And this is when it shows you Jamie trying to hold on and get through this journey. So he expected that there would be a stop. There will be a break for him to rest. But he realized that they were not going to stop at all. It's just a very brief stop. And then due to this is his reaction. He asked whether they were stopping, and the driver said that they were not. And that's when he stared at the driver. Okay, so this is your contextual clues here. So why exactly did Jamie stare at the driver is because of these previous events. So that should help you to answer the question for paragraph 5. I'll give you a bit of time to mark this out on the passage itself. Okay, all good. I'm going to move on to paragraph question 6. Okay, this is question 6. Again, this is the inference question. They have given you a quotation. So this is your tested phrase again. It was a 600-mile journey and he was not sure if he was going to live through it. Neither was he sure that he wanted to. So first thing you have to do when there's a tested phrase, decipher the quotation. You have to try and understand what is it telling you about. So from this particular quotation, there are two things that you can tell. Firstly, was not sure if he was going to live through it. It gives you a sense of uncertainty. So he is uncertain whether he can continue on with this particular journey. And then lastly, this part is a sense of resistance from him to even continue on with that journey. So from these two portions, what does it then tell you about his feelings at that moment? Okay, take note again that this is about his feelings. So your answers have to be telling me an emotional feeling. This is for question 6. So take down this annotation. Okay, all good. Now move on to the next question, which is your direct question for question 7. So this is your direct question. Direct questions, that mean you can find your answers from the passage. This is supposed to help you score the easier marks as well. Now there is a quotation here. So this quotation is saying that there was no room to move or breathe. You have to try and understand what idea is trying to be conveyed through this particular phrase when they're saying there's no room to move or breathe. So remember, paragraph 1 is introducing the start of the journey. This is when they are describing Jamie with other people crammed inside a small space. So what that tells you is that this quotation is a depiction of space. It's telling you about the particular space. And then what you need to do now is to identify a sentence. So this has to be one complete sentence with a full stop that suggests the same thing as this idea. So find another sentence that tells you that there is a depiction of space here. Okay, go back to the previous slide. Is it this slide? Okay, all good. Okay. So going back to what I said, from this quotation, you're talking about depiction of space. So you have to find a sentence from the same paragraph that says this exact same idea. Okay, so make sure your answers is also in full sentences. So you have to say that the sentence is, and then give me the quotation. That full sentence has to be from a capital letter all the way to a full stop. That's your sentence. Okay, I'm going to move on to the last question. Last question. This is your global question. So you have to look at the entire passage as a whole. This question is asking about the reflection of the author's emotions. Could you help me make this change for the second question? Instead of paragraph 3 to 4, can you change it to paragraph 4? If the worksheet has not been changed for your version. Okay, so just make sure this is paragraph 1, paragraph 4, and paragraph 5 to 6. So we did go through about emotions at the start of this session when we talk about Jamie's feelings. So same thing, go back to the passage, look through details that convey the emotions in each of the selected paragraphs here. Okay, and then what will help you is that you mark out these details. Okay, so that will be the last question. Now I would like you to attempt to do the questions. So answer all the questions and then we will go through the answers. Instead of 15 minutes, I think I can give you 20 minutes. So 20 minutes to do all the questions and then we'll go through the answers. So
Sure.
All right, we're going to go through the answers now. I hope all of you are done already. If you have any questions with the answers that you have written down, just type it away in the chat. Okay, let's start with the first question. So this was your first question, quote and explain questions, and this is the answers for that question. So you're going to find the 3 quotations from paragraph 5. This is the 3 quotations here. So I've marked it out for you. And this is how the answer would look like if you use the answer structure that I gave you just now. You start off with firstly, and then you have secondly, and then you have your last quotation here with the quotation itself, and then this is your explanation part. Okay, so this is a much more structured answer. Clear for the examiner to look at it as well. All right, take note that your explanation here has to explain what this quotation is about. So in this case, for the first quotation, where it's talking about how every inch of Jamie's body was battered and bruised, that's your explanation should be that this tells me that Jamie was physically hurt and in pain. So you're explaining the quotation. Okay, I'm going to give you some time to write this down. Okay, I have a question. Someone asked whether this part can be used. So every time he started to doze, he was jarred awake. Can I get your explanation along with that quotation? So can I look at how you explain the quotation? As long as your explanation can tell me about how he's suffering, most probably I would accept it. Okay, everyone all good with the first question? And I'm going to go on to the second question. So, okay, this is second question. Question 2, your language plus inference. So explaining the meanings of the words, deciphering the meanings of it, and then explaining the effectiveness of it. So check against your answer. I've given you the explanation here, and this is how you should be answering. So stretching to infinity is talking about how vast the desert was. And then pitiless is saying that the heat from the sun was very extreme. Smothered is referring to being oppressed or trapped. So it's saying that how the dust, the heat, and the flies in the desert was very overwhelming. Okay. No further questions, then I'm going to go on to question 3. So question 3 are irony questions. Remember, you should be telling me what was the expectation and then what was the actuality. So here is for question 3. So here's the expectation. Because he is squeezed with all the other men, so you expect that he would feel a sense of uncountableness, but he thought that it was not bad. This is your actuality. That's why it's an irony. There's a contrast here. Okay, all good. Moving on to question 4. Question 4, you are describing how the impact of a blow of a horse hoof to one's chest suggests about each bounce. So you're saying that this impact should be one that is violent, or if you give me rough, forceful, or powerful, these are words that I accept as well. You may also check with me whether the words that you choose are accepted. Brutal, painful, can. Immense force, yes, also can. Painful is accepted as well. Okay, all good. Okay, I'll move on to question 5. Question 5, your inference question. So this is when you are trying to infer why Jamie was staring at the driver. Your answer for this is that he was shocked because they were not going to stop. So answer has to tell me about the emotion, so how he felt, and the reason as well. Okay, all good. Let me look at the questions. Make sure you do give me the emotion too. So if you just tell me that, give me the reason alone, I will not give you the full mark for that. In disbelief, can, I will accept it. Okay, I'll move on to question 6. Question 6, this is your answer for question 6. So how did Jamie feel with reference to this quotation they have given you here? So you can say that he felt desperate for the journey to end, or he felt defeated and miserable. Because just now we mentioned that there's a sense of uncertainty, didn't know whether he even wanted to continue, or there's a sense of resistance, he did not want to continue at all. This courage is also accepted. Resign, yes, I will accept that as well. Low morale, okay, yes. Since it's talking about reduced enthusiasm or reduced motivation, I'll accept that too. Okay, any further questions? hopeless, unmotivated, can. Okay, can I move on? Question 7, your direct question. This is the sentence you should be looking for. Here. So the three men with Jamie in the middle squeeze into the seat crowded against each other, because this is trying to tell you there is a depiction of the space here. It's very cramped. They're all squeezed up with each other. Okay, moving on to the last question for today. I'm going to show you the definitions for some of the words. So dread, melancholic, miserable, these are the definitions for it. If you were unsure of it previously, this is what it meant. Okay, go back to question 6. Go on. Let me flash question 6 for a while first. Okay, question 7. This is the answer. This is your sentence. Can be found in the passage itself. Okay, all good. Can I go back to question 8? This is for question 8, the definitions for the words as well. If you like to write down the definitions, you may do so before I show you the answers and the details where you can get it in the passage itself. Okay, for paragraph 1, what the feeling is, you can say that it is optimistic. This is your detail that will back up this particular feeling, because despite being in such a bad situation, he tells himself that it's okay, it's not too bad. It's him being optimistic about the situation. Okay, let me go through the last 2 answers and then I'll go back to any of the slides that you need me to go back to. Okay. Next part, paragraph 4 is shock, because Jamie, this is when he realizes that they're not going to stop at all. They're just going to continue on the journey. And he expected them to stop so that he could get a rest for a while. So your answer for paragraph 4 is shock. All right, and then for the last answer, which is paragraphs 5 to 6. 5 to 6 is miserable, because this is where they are going, continuing on with their journey, and that's when the little cart starts to go on this very bumpy ride. So his body feels very bad, he's aching all over, and then they enter the desert where they are smothered with the heat, the dust, and the flies. So feelings in this part is miserable. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the slides that some people have asked me to go back to. Other than that, if there are no further questions from the rest of you, then you may leave already. That is the end of the revision. All the best to all of your revisions for your upcoming tests or exams. I hope this has helped you. If there's no further questions, then you can log off already. Okay, I'm just going to go back to the previous slides that some of you need. Okay, this is for all of you who needs the definitions for the words.